My sister sold my childhood car without permission. While I worked two jobs, so I bought her dream car and left her parents speechless and ashamed. I'm a 27-year-old guy, and for most of my life, my childhood car was the only thing that reminded me of my dad. It wasn't anything flashy, just an old boxy sedan that most people wouldn't look at twice. But to me, it was the last piece of him I could still touch. I can still remember being 12 years old, standing beside him in the driveway, the smell of motor oil in the air, his hands guiding mine as we worked on the engine together. That car wasn't transportation, it was a time capsule. Even now, whenever I opened the garage and saw it sitting quietly under the dim bulb, something in my chest settled. My family has always been chaotic. Loud arguments, shifting loyalties, and a kind of unspoken hierarchy where my sister Lily was always at the top. She was the golden child, the princess, the one whose mistakes were framed as learning experiences, while my achievements were treated like the bare minimum expected from a son. Maybe that's why I held on to the car so tightly. It was the one thing in my life untouched by favoritism, manipulation, or expectations. It was mine because he made it mine. To survive that house, I learned to stay out of everyone's way. These days, I work two jobs just to maintain some distance, a full-time position during the day and freelance mechanical work on the weekends to save a little extra. Meanwhile, Lily drifts from one career path to another, and my parents keep covering her rent, her bills, her newest impulsive hobbies. She barely acknowledges my hard work, but recently she's been hovering around the garage more often, tossing off questions like, "Do you even drive it anymore?" Or, "Old cars can still be worth something, right?" The way she said it made my stomach tighten, like she wasn't really asking out of curiosity at all. And something in me knew. Those questions weren't harmless. I've always known Lily lived in a different universe than the rest of us, but lately, it felt like she was drifting even further into some fantasy world where everything existed to entertain her. I'm a 27-year-old guy who earns every cent he spends, and she's a 25-year-old woman who somehow turned finding herself into a full-time lifestyle. Our parents funded it all. The trips, the impulsive online shopping sprees, the designer bags she deserved after such a stressful month, even though her most stressful task was deciding which filter to use on Instagram. Sometimes I'd overhear my mom whispering, "She's just figuring it out. Girls need time." Meanwhile, if I mentioned being tired after a double shift, Dad would just grunt, "That's life. Men work." That imbalance was the air I grew up breathing, but as an adult, it hits differently. It stings sharper. One evening, Lily barged into the kitchen while I was grabbing water after work. She waved her phone in my face, showing me a sleek, glossy picture of a luxury convertible. "Isn't this car gorgeous?" she said, eyes sparkling. "This is my actual dream. I'm manifesting it." I shrugged. "Nice, I guess." She tilted her head at me. "You could never get something like this, right? I mean, old metal and rust is more your vibe." Her tone was playful, but it had teeth. I tried to let it slide, but I noticed she kept circling back to car conversations. "How much do old models go for? Do collectors really pay a lot? Your car, did Dad ever say it had special parts?" Every time, she pretended it was casual interest, but her eyes stayed locked on mine too long, like she was studying my reactions. And underneath her smile, I sensed it. Something calculating, something hungry, something that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Because Lily never asks questions unless she wants something. That weekend was one of those brutally long stretches where time folds into itself. A blur of work, sweat, and the steady hum of exhaustion. I'm a 27-year-old guy juggling two jobs, and I had just finished a 12-hour shift at the shop before heading straight to a freelance call-out. By the time I got home, my shoulders felt like concrete, and my eyes burned from staying open too long. All I wanted was a shower, a meal, and maybe 5 minutes alone with the car that always grounded me. But when I pushed open the garage door, the fluorescent bulb flickered overhead, illuminating nothing. The space was empty. For a second, my brain refused to process it. I literally stepped inside, blinking hard, thinking maybe I walked into the wrong garage. I even checked behind the workbench like the car had somehow shrunk and was hiding. My throat tightened, and I said out loud, "No, no, no, no. This isn't right." I stumbled back into the house. "Mom? Dad? Did someone move my car?" My voice cracked in a way I hadn't heard since I was a kid. My dad barely looked up from the TV. "Calm down. Don't start." Mom didn't even bother standing. "Your sister handled it. She'll explain." My heart dropped into my stomach. "Handled what?" That's when Lily walked in from the hallway, twirling her hair, avoiding my eyes. "Relax," she said lightly. "I sold it." The room tilted. "You what?" My voice came out strangled. She rolled her eyes. "It was just sitting there collecting dust. I found a buyer. It's done." "Where's the paperwork? The title?" I choked on the words, sprinting to my room. The drawer was open, empty, violated. "Lily," I whispered, coming back out. "You had no right." She crossed her arms, unbothered. "It's not a big deal. You never used it anyway." And in that moment, standing in that living room, staring at my empty hands, something inside me cracked in a way that wasn't going to heal easily. Because she didn't just sell a car, she sold him. And this was only the beginning. I don't think I've ever felt rage and disbelief collide the way they did in that moment. I'm a 27-year-old guy who doesn't cry easily, but my chest felt tight enough to split open. I kept waiting, hoping, for my parents to say Lily was joking, that this was some twisted prank, but the silence in the room made everything real. "What is wrong with you people?" I finally said, my voice shaking. "That car was mine. Dad gave it to me. You know what it meant." Dad sighed like I was inconveniencing him. "It was falling apart. She did you a favor." "A favor?" I snapped. "By stealing my property and selling it behind my back?" Lily scoffed. "Stealing? Chill. It was literally rusting. I got good money for it too. You should be thanking me." I stepped closer. "Where's the money, Lily?" She glanced at Mom, then shrugged. "Spent some. I needed things." Mom chimed in, her tone clipped. "Don't raise your voice at your sister. She made a practical decision. You've been too attached to that junk." "Junk?" I whispered. "Dad and I rebuilt half of that engine together. Enough about your father," Dad cut in. "You're being dramatic. It was an old car. Move on." The room spun. Every word felt like a slap. "So, you're all okay with this? With her taking something that wasn't hers?" Mom folded her arms. "She's your sister. Family shares." Family shares. Right. Except nothing was ever shared with me unless it was responsibility, guilt, or expectations. I took a shaky breath. "You owe me the money she got. All of it." Dad snorted. "We're not giving you anything. Let it go. Be a man." Lily gave me this smug, satisfied smile, like she had just proven something. And in that moment, surrounded by the people who were supposed to protect me, I realized something horrifying. They weren't just siding with her. They believed I had no right to be upset. And that meant they were willing to let her take much more than my car. I didn't pack much, just a duffel bag with clothes, my toolbox, and the few things in the house that were actually mine. I'm a 27-year-old guy, and walking out of that front door felt like peeling off a layer of skin. My parents didn't try to stop me. Lily didn't even look up from her phone. It was like they'd already replaced me with the version of me they preferred, the silent one who swallowed everything and kept working. The night air hit me like a slap, cold and sharp, and for a second I just stood in the driveway, staring at the empty garage. I could almost see the ghost of my car in that space, the shape of it, the way the headlights caught the light, my dad's hands resting on the hood. My throat tightened, and for once, I didn't fight the feeling. I drove to my friend Mark's place. He opened the door before I even knocked. "Jesus, man," he said, stepping aside. "What happened?" I dropped the bag on his floor and sat down. "Lily sold my car." He froze. "Your dad's car?" "Yeah." My voice cracked embarrassingly. "She took the title, sold it, spent the money, and my parents, they don't care." Mark stared at me for a long moment before saying quietly, "File a police report, now." So I did. I sat in his living room with a cup of cheap coffee and filled out the paperwork online, listing everything I knew about the sale, the missing title, the fact that it wasn't authorized. The officer I spoke to said the report wouldn't guarantee anything yet, but it would document the theft. Afterward, I searched up the buyer, using the little information Lily had let slip. When I found him and realized how little she'd sold the car for, practically pennies, something inside me shifted. It wasn't just the loss, it was the stupidity, the arrogance, the complete disregard for what the car meant. Mark looked at me over the rim of his mug. "You okay?" "No," I said honestly, "but I'm done begging them to care." And as the clock ticked past midnight, a different kind of clarity settled in. Not anger, not grief, but the beginning of a plan. And I knew this wasn't over. The next morning, I drove to meet the man who bought my car. I'm a 27-year-old guy who doesn't usually get nervous talking to strangers, but my hands were sweating on the steering wheel the whole way there. I didn't know what to expect. A collector, a mechanic, maybe someone who'd stripped it for parts already. But when he opened the door, he looked surprised, not hostile. "You're the brother?" he asked. "I'm the owner," I corrected quietly. Or, I was. He led me into his garage, and the moment I saw the car sitting there, intact, untouched, my chest tightened. It looked smaller somehow, sadder, like it knew it didn't belong here. "I didn't want trouble," the buyer said. "Your sister told me you knew about the sale." "She lied," I said. He nodded like he already suspected. "Well, I didn't mean to take advantage, but I'm going to be honest with you. She didn't know what she sold." I frowned. "What do you mean?" He grabbed his phone and pulled up listing after listing. Auctions, forums, restoration groups. Each one showed a number that made my stomach flip. Tens of thousands. More if restored correctly. My mouth went dry. "This model," he said, tapping the hood. "Rare, very rare. People pay stupid money for these now." I stared at my car, suddenly seeing it through different eyes. My dad hadn't just been teaching me how to change oil or tighten bolts. He'd been handing me something valuable, something he believed I deserved, something Lily destroyed without hesitation. "She sold it for $2,000, the buyer added quietly. "And honestly, I paid her out of pity. She seemed desperate. $2,000 for a car worth more than my annual freelance income. I felt something cold crawl up my spine. This wasn't just betrayal. This was ignorance mixed with greed, wrapped in entitlement. "She screwed herself over," the buyer said. "No," I said slowly, realization forming like a storm. "She handed me the perfect chance." The man raised an eyebrow. "Chance for what?" I exhaled, steady and certain for the first time since the car disappeared. "Revenge," I said. And for the first time, the plan truly crystallized. Driving back from the buyer's place felt different, like the world outside the windshield had shifted a few degrees. I'm a 27-year-old guy who usually tries to keep the peace, but something inside me had snapped cleanly, quietly. Not the angry kind of break, the calculating kind. The kind where you stop begging people to do right by you and start preparing to let their own actions expose them. That night, while crashing on Mark's couch again, I scrolled through social media. Lily had posted a story, some aesthetic mirror selfie with the caption, "Manifesting my dream car, 3." My jaw clenched. She'd always wanted that ridiculous, overpriced luxury car, always whining about how she deserved it, even though she'd barely held a job for more than 2 months. Mark looked over my shoulder. "Isn't that the car she wouldn't shut up about?" "Yeah," I muttered. He whistled. "Expensive taste for someone who can't pay her own phone bill." I didn't laugh. I was too busy scrolling through listings, browsing used versions of Lily's dream car. And then, there it was. A slightly older model, still shiny enough to impress shallow people, still flashy enough to make Lily lose her mind. And the price, barely within reach, but possible with my 2 jobs and savings. I stared at the listing for a long time, something cold and focused settling inside me. Mark noticed. "What are you thinking?" I leaned back, voice steady. "Lily wants everything handed to her. She thinks she can take from me and walk away smiling." I paused, the plan sharpening at the edges. "So I'm going to give her exactly what she wants, just not the way she expects." "Meaning?" he asked. I closed the tab and exhaled. "Meaning I'm done playing defense." Because for the first time in years, I wasn't reacting to Lily's chaos. I was strategizing. And as the idea took shape, one thing became clear. I wasn't just going to teach her a lesson. I was going to let her teach it to herself. And she'd never see it coming. I thought the worst part was losing the car, but I was wrong. I'm a 27-year-old guy, and apparently, getting robbed by your own sister wasn't enough. Now I had to be publicly humiliated by my own family too. It started when Lily posted some long, dramatic rant on social media. A friend sent me screenshots before I even saw them, myself. "Some people can't let go of the past," she wrote. "They get obsessed, territorial, unstable. It's sad." She never mentioned my name, but everyone knew who she meant. The car, the blow-up at home, the unstable brother, and the comments? God. Her friends chimed in with hearts and pitying messages. My own relatives liked the post. I felt something hollow open inside my chest. Then my aunt called. "You should apologize to your parents. Lily is really stressed. I laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. She stole from me. Well, she made a mistake, my aunt whispered, like she was reading from a script. But you're older. You should rise above. Rise above, meaning swallow it and take the blame. Again. The real punch to the gut came when my mom texted me. We're having a small birthday dinner for Lily next week. It's better if you sit this one out until you calm down. Calm down. They were disinviting me from my own sister's birthday because she stole my car. Mark looked over my shoulder at the message. They're kidding, right? No, I said quietly. They mean it. A pressure built behind my eyes. Not tears, just disappointment so heavy it felt physical. I had never felt so alone, so replaceable, so unimportant. For a moment, the plan didn't matter. The revenge didn't matter. I just felt unwanted, like a ghost drifting around a family that never actually saw me. But the night of Lily's dinner came, and something in me hardened. Because despite everything, I showed up anyway. And when I parked outside the restaurant, the engine of Lily's dream car purred beneath my hands. And finally, I understood. Rock bottom isn't the end. It's the place where you decide what you're going to do next. Walking into that restaurant felt like stepping onto a stage I wasn't invited to. I'm a 27-year-old guy, and every eye at that long family table snapped toward me the second I walked in. Lily's eyebrow shot up like I was a stain on her perfect evening. My mom's jaw tightened. My dad muttered something under his breath. But Lily, she smirked, like seeing me was confirmation she still had control. You actually came? She said loudly, brushing her hair over her shoulder so everyone could see her new nails. Wow, bold. I kept my voice even. You're my sister. Why wouldn't I show up? She shrugged dramatically. I don't know. You've been unhinged lately. Her friends giggled, eating it up. I ignored them and reached into my jacket. The small velvet box felt cold in my hand as I placed it on the table. Conversations died instantly. Lily's eyes widened with greedy curiosity. What's that? She asked. A gift, I said simply. She snatched it like a child grabbing candy. Inside was a brand new key fob, sleek, expensive looking, unmistakably belonging to the car she'd been drooling over for months. Her mouth fell, open. No, no way. Is this? Go outside, I said. See for yourself. She jumped up so fast her chair toppled. Half the table followed, buzzing with excitement. When she reached the curb and saw the shiny convertible parked out front, she screamed. Actually screamed, clutching her chest like she'd won the lottery. Oh my God! Mom! Dad! Look what I got! I stepped forward, calm and steady, watching her grip the door handle like it was made of gold. My parents stared at me, stunned, confused, trying to figure out how I, the quiet, responsible son, had pulled off something so grand. You bought this? My mom whispered. Yes, I said. Lily turned to me with stars in her eyes. I knew you'd come around. I knew you weren't actually upset. Her voice was sweet now, sickeningly sweet. But she didn't realize she was standing at the edge of a trap she walked into herself, and I was finally ready to tighten it. The crowd outside the restaurant grew as relatives, and Lily's friends gathered around the gleaming convertible. I'm a 27-year-old guy, but in that moment, I felt strangely detached, like I was watching everything through glass. Lily was bouncing on her toes, clutching the key fob like it was the crown jewel of her existence. This is mine, she squealed. It's beautiful, one of her friends whispered. I can't believe your brother bought you this. Another chimed in. My mom looked at me with this newfound warmth, like I had finally behaved the way she believed a good son should. My dad even clapped me on the back. Didn't know you had it in you, he said. I let the moment hang before I spoke. Actually, there's something all of you should know. Lily froze mid-squeal, turning slowly. What now? I met her eyes. Before you take credit for something you didn't earn, you should understand why you're holding those keys. She laughed nervously. Why? Because you finally apologized with actions. No, I said. Because I wanted everyone to see the truth. A murmur spread through the group as I pulled out my phone. 2 weeks ago, Lily stole my car, my father's car, the only thing I had left of him. My voice didn't shake. It cut. My mom stiffened. Not here. Yes, I said firmly. Here. I tapped the screen and held up the police report I filed, the one with dates, details, and statements. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Lily's face drained of color. You sold something that wasn't yours, I continued, and you lied about it to everyone, including these people standing here cheering for you. That's not, she stammered. You're twisting things. Oh? I walked to the convertible and placed my thumb over the sensor. The car chirped, unlocking, obeying me. You never even stopped to ask why I gave you the keys so easily. Confusion washed over her face. Held up my phone. Because this car is registered in my name. The access is controlled by my app. You can't start it, drive it, or even sit in it without me granting permission. She grabbed the door handle desperately, locked. Her voice cracked. You really did this to embarrass me? No, I said softly. I did this so you'd finally see yourself. And the look on her face, the horror, the humiliation, told me she did. For a moment, no one spoke. The restaurant lights flickered across the parking lot, and Lily stood frozen beside the locked car, her hand trembling on the handle like she could will it to open. I'm a 27-year-old guy, but watching my sister, the golden child, the untouchable one, finally collide with her own actions felt surreal. Not satisfying, not triumphant, just painfully necessary. My dad cleared his throat. All right, son, that's enough. You made your point. No, I said quietly. Not yet. My mom stepped forward, her voice sharp. You're humiliating your sister on her birthday. I turned to her. She humiliated me for weeks, lied about me online, stole from me, and you defended her every step of the way. Lily's voice cracked. It wasn't that serious. It was my car, my father's car. My voice shook for the first time that night. It was the only piece of him I had left. A few relatives murmured, their faces shifting. Surprise, guilt, realization. One aunt stepped closer and asked softly, Is that true? She really sold it without permission? I held up the police report again. Every detail is here. I tried to talk to them. They told me to be a man and let it go. My dad bristled. You're twisting. I cut him off. No, I'm just done pretending this family is fair. The words hung heavy, sinking into every corner of the silence. Lily's eyes filled with tears, genuine ones this time. She looked at Mom, then Dad, waiting for them to rescue her, to step in and shift the blame onto me like always. But they didn't. Not when half the family was staring at them, whispering. My mom's voice faltered. Lily, why didn't you just talk to him? Because she never thinks she has to, I answered. Mark, who had stood quietly behind me this whole time, stepped forward. He's been working nonstop to build a life on his own, while she drains everyone and takes whatever she wants. More whispers, more shifting eyes. My parents looked small, cornered by the truth they'd never had to face. I took the keys from my pocket and slipped them into my own jacket. I'm leaving. You can figure out the rest. And the look on their faces, shock, shame, confusion, told me this was the first time they'd ever been forced to. I didn't look back as I walked toward the convertible, my convertible, the night air cool against my face, the low hum of conversation still buzzing behind me. I'm a 27-year-old guy, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't walking away defeated. I was walking away free. When I slid into the driver's seat, the scent of leather hit me, warm and clean. Nothing like the grease-stained interior of my childhood car. And yet, somehow, it felt like a continuation of the same story. A reminder that what's taken from you doesn't define you, but how you rise afterward does. The car started with a soft purr. Lily let out a choked sob behind me. Please, she cried, stepping closer. We can talk. Don't just leave like this. I looked at her through the open window. I tried talking. You didn't listen. Her voice broke. I said I was sorry. No, I said calmly. You said you were sorry you got caught. My parents hovered behind her, their expressions tangled with embarrassment and something that looked almost like regret, but not enough to undo years of enabling. My mom took a step forward. We can fix this, she said weakly. We're still a family. I met her eyes. Family doesn't treat one kid like a doormat to protect the other. She had no response. None of them did. Over the next few weeks, they tried calling, texting, sending long paragraphs about communication and misunderstandings. I didn't block them. I just didn't reply. Not yet. I needed distance. I needed to breathe. I needed to remember who I was without constantly being compared, dismissed, or guilt-tripped. I used the police report to legally document the theft, and it helped me recover a portion of the money Lily got from her reckless sale. Not the true value, but enough to close the chapter without bitterness. And the convertible? I kept it. Not to flaunt, not to spite Lily, but because every time I drove it, I remembered what the buyer told me. She didn't know the value of what she had. Funny how that applied to more than just the car. Somewhere along the line, Lily lost sight of what mattered, and somewhere along the line, I finally found myself. As I drove down the empty road one night, wind cutting through the silence, I realized something. My father would have been proud, not because I got revenge, but because I finally stopped letting people walk all over me, and for the first time in years, I felt whole.